Welcome back to WB Mason Presents the Joe Girardi Show. I'm Ken Singleton, along with Yankee manager Joe Girardi, and right now we're going to talk about the rotation. And why don't we start with the big man right at the top, CC Sabathia, who really has been on a roll of late.
Yeah, his last two starts have been outstanding. And Friday night in Kansas City, he gave up the 2 runs in first and then just shut them down completely, going 8 strong innings for us. And we really needed a win after losing 3 in a row, the last 2 on a homestand, and then Thursday night in Kansas City, a tough game, 4-3. I actually think our rotation is slowly starting to throw better. I've seen good signs from Kuroda. I've seen better signs from Hughes, and Nova has thrown better. So I'm starting to like what I see, because we expected our rotation to be a strength force, and it has really struggled the first month of the season.
CC Sabathia's start on Friday was an excellent one, as you mentioned. You know, one thing I think I see from him over the years here, Joe, is that once he has a few mistakes in a ball game, he gives up a few hits, a few runs, all of a sudden he has the ability to say, that's enough. And he can really get his act together. And that's been happening quite a lot lately. In his last 3 starts, he's been excellent.
Yeah, he has. And he has the ability to stop innings. You know, if I give up a run, I'm not going to give up 5 runs. I'm going to give up 1 or 2. And you saw it in the game as well when he gave up the 2-out triple to Hosmer. And then Frank Core came up. The first fastball was the hardest fastball we've seen from him all year, 96 miles an hour. And that's CC knows how to turn it up a notch.
Let's go to Hiroki Kuroda. Now, to me, the impression I've gotten from this man is that the fact he knows how to pitch.
Right.
It's just a matter of him making his pitches during the course of the game.
It is, and I think a sinker is a big part of his game. When he has his sinker, he's a much different guy. And we've been pleased with the way he's been throwing the baseball, and we need to continue that.
Okay, you have Phil Hughes. He's kind of been in and out, maybe a little more out than in, but maybe a little progress lately.
Yeah, we think there's progress, and we want that to continue, because you know this is a guy that won 18 games for us in 2010, and someone's going to say, well, 17 were his starter. Well, I'll take 18 anyway, you know, and we need that from him. I mean, we need our starters to give us wins.
Ivan Nova, he probably had the worst spring training session of anybody, but he's turning on. He's 3-1. He finally lost the game, which is a sort of an oddity in itself.
Yeah, and he pitched pretty good in that game. We didn't score a lot of runs that game, and sometimes that's hard to pitch when you're not scoring runs and you're matched up with the other guy, and you know you got to go toe-to-toe and you can't make a mistake, and sometimes that leads to bigger innings.
Joe, there were 3 youngsters in spring training who were vying to making the club. David Phelps, Adam Warren, and DJ Mitchell, and they all performed pretty well in spring training. Well, David Phelps is the one who got to the big leagues, and he made his first major league start in Kansas City in front of family and friends, because the young man's from St. Louis. So I'm sure there was added pressure on him. But did you like what you saw?
I did. You know, it's unfortunate we had to take him out after 4 innings because of his pitch count, but I thought he battled. I really did. And, you know, I think sometimes you forget how hard it is to make that first start in front of all those family and friends, because not only are you trying to make a mark for yourself, you don't want to let people down. And I thought he did a really good job of managing innings. You know, there were some innings that could have got away from him, and he kept us in that game. And you look at his next start coming up against Tampa, you know, he should be able to give us 100 pitches.
Well, Phelps is in the rotation. Freddie Garcia goes to the bullpen. And now here's a proud veteran.
Right.
I'm sure it was tough for you to tell him that he had to go to the bullpen, but how did he accept it?
You know, he accepted it well. I mean, here's a guy that was really, really good for us last year. And he actually pitched Wednesday night at home before we left on the road trip. The velocity was better, his slider was harder, and his split was harder. So maybe this will get him going.
Okay, the pitcher is out there on the horizon. We all know that Andy Pettit will be back, and pretty soon. Maybe 1 or 2 more starts down in the minor leagues. You've caught Andy in the past. What can he really bring to a ball club? Maybe CC Sabathia-like qualities?
Oh, I believe so. I think he's a leader in the clubhouse as well, and he can stabilize our rotation. And you start facing a lot of these clubs that have a lot of left-handers, and he's left-handed. You know, a club like Kansas City has a lot of left-handers. A club like Seattle has a lot of left-handers as well, and he can neutralize them.
Hold that thought, Joe. Here's an update from Bob Lorenz in our Yes Network studios.
All right, thanks, Kenny. On Sunday afternoon, Andy Pettit took another step on his road back to the Yankees, suiting up for the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Yanks in a game against Pawtucket. Pettit threw 92 pitches over 5 innings, including 59 strikes. He gave up 3 earned runs on 8 hits while striking out 5 and issuing a couple of walks. Well, that's going to finish things up from here in the studio. Now back to Kenny and the manager on WB Mason Presents the Joe Girardi Show.
You're 1 man short in the bullpen now. Say when Andy Pettit comes back, could you move one of your starters to the bullpen? Say a Phil Hughes, who's had some success out in the bullpen.
That's probably going to be a question I'm going to be asked a lot in the next week or so.
Well, I'm glad I asked it first.
Because Phil Hughes has been a guy that's had success both places, and we've seen him do it as a starter, and we've seen him do it as a reliever. And you know, you want to have a strong bullpen, especially in the American League East, and we're going to have to make a decision.
The lineup struggled a bit lately. Not many hits with runners in scoring position, although there were some signs on Friday night in Kansas City with that 4-run outburst in the 7th inning. I'm sure that was nice to see.
Yeah, it was great because it was all with 2 outs.
Yeah.
I mean, Nooney gets a triple with 2 outs, and then Chris Stewart singles, and then Jeet hits a 2-run homer, and all of a sudden you got 4 runs and you're up 6-2. And they were real close to getting out of the inning, and it didn't happen. So, I mean, I thought that was really important. And really, when it comes down to it, a game comes down to making your pitches and runners in scoring position usually. And when you hit well with runners in scoring position, you're usually going to win.
How good was it to see Mark Teixeira get off in the first inning? I mean, he really got into
Yeah, he really did. And he swung the bat extremely well right-handed Friday night. And that's something he's done over his career, that he's very dangerous. And it was good to see him get off to a good start.
Joe, have you ever been as hot as your leadoff hitter, the way Derek is going this year?
Maybe for 3 days. You know, it's truly amazing, you know, what he has done. And people ask me about it. Well, did you expect it? I mean, did you see this coming? You know, last year we talked about the slow start. And the easiest way for me to answer this, it's Derek. I mean, this is the guy that has done amazing things throughout his career. And you know, should we be surprised? I don't know. I mean, I've seen this guy do it for so long and be so clutch. I'm not sure if I'm surprised. I feel it's just Derek being Derek.
Now, some of the numbers of the guys in the middle of the lineup aren't what you're used to seeing. There are different ways to have good years. You know, sometimes you're a little bit more consistent. Sometimes you can struggle for a month or so and then really go off. You've got some guys who are due to go off pretty soon.
Yeah, that's what I think. You know, I used to have a manager in Jim Essie, and he would always say, "Someone's got to pay." You know, because
I've heard that.
You know, because these guys have been held down long enough, and I believe they're all going to take off.